The National News Desk, locally covered, nationally connected.
We worked on the bill for almost 14 months. You can't go back to the drawing board, and we shouldn't.
President Trump's big, beautiful bill hits a snag in the Senate as a self-imposed deadline fast approaches. As new victims in Boulder are identified, a judge's new ruling about the suspect's family as they await deportation. And a summer staple now under urgent recall. The FDA's highest warning now tied to this popular fruit. This is the National News Desk, America's News Now. I'm Dee Gatton, and we are glad you are here with us as we come on the air. Trade talks heat up as President Donald Trump increases tariffs on imported steel and aluminum from 25 to 50%. And Reuters is saying the U.S. and the European Union are advancing their negotiations quickly today as another trade deadline looms in a month. But as these talks continue, trade deals do remain elusive. National correspondent Artra El-Nashar has the latest on where negotiations stand around the world.
President Trump's global tariff agenda is under pressure and in the spotlight.
It would be good to have some certainty.
It's been more than 2 months since Liberation Day, and so far, the White House has only made one outline of a trade deal with the UK. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick appearing before senators, many of whom are hearing from businesses in their states struggling to adapt to fluid tariff policies, like a defense contractor in New Hampshire.
They said that their lead times have gone from 20 weeks to 2.5 years. Because of the tariffs.
More changes coming Wednesday, with steel and aluminum tariffs doubling from 25% to 50%, which could complicate ongoing trade talks.
If you're going to open your market, now let's talk. And that's exactly the president's view. If you don't want to open it, you can pay a tariff.
The president's 90-day pause on double-digit universal tariffs, the same ones being challenged in court, will end in early July. The White House confirms it just reached out to countries telling them the president expects, they say, good deals.
USTR sent this letter to all of our trading partners just to give them a friendly reminder that the deadline is coming up.
The highest stakes surround what happens with China. The White House said it's likely President Trump and Chinese President Xi Jinping will speak this week as they accuse each other of violating terms of a short-term agreement made in Geneva last month. Tuesday night, China's foreign ministry released these images of its meeting with U.S. Ambassador to China, David Perdue, saying they hope he serves as a mediator of differences. Hours later, around 2 a.m. Wednesday, President Trump posted, "I like President Xi of China, always have and always will, but he is very tough and extremely hard to make a deal with." Without a deal or a clear end to this trade war, life for American business likely won't get easier. On Capitol Hill, I'm Atra El-Nashar for the National News Desk, America's News Now.
The Boulder suspect Mohammed Solomon is due back in court tomorrow to enter a plea, but the case against him seems to be growing, with 15 victims and one dog now identified. ABC News says they obtained video posted by a pro-Hamas Telegram group of the suspect before the attack. The report says in an edited 2-minute video, Solomon spoke in Arabic, saying in part, "God is greater than the Zionists, God is greater than America and its weapons." The Colorado Attorney General telling CNN the case against Solomon is extensive and very clear-cut in his motives.
The individual has basically said, I wish I had killed people. I came wanting to kill people. I'm sorry I didn't kill people. So this is not a situation where there are a lot of facts in dispute. It's clear what he was trying to do. It's clear it was motivated by anti-Semitism and by hate. And the charges are very severe, both federal and state. It's quite clear that there's going to be accountability here to the full extent of the law.
Deportation of the suspect's family is now halted. A federal judge just ruled in favor of Solomon's wife and children, Egyptian citizens who were detained by immigration authorities yesterday. They have not been charged. But we are also learning more about Mohammed Solomon, as there are some indications he may have supported the Muslim Brotherhood. It's one reason why some leaders on Capitol Hill are now pushing to designate the group as a terror organization. The National News Desk, Christine Frizzell, brings us the details from Washington.
The case against Mohammed Sabri Solomon is building. Recent court filings revealing he told authorities he wanted to kill all Zionist people and wished they were all dead. and would conduct another attack again. CNN reporting a Facebook profile that appeared to be his included old posts that expressed sympathy for the Muslim Brotherhood, a group Senator Ted Cruz once designated as a terrorist organization.
The Muslim Brotherhood and the jihadists, they believe in using violence, using murder, to force people to embrace their radical Islamist view.
Democrat Jared Moskowitz sent this letter asking for the same.
The dangers of this school of thought and this ideology have arrived to the United States, are impacting us domestically. We're seeing more attacks under this ideology.
Among the countries that already designate the group as a terrorist organization, Bahrain, Russia, Saudi Arabia, Egypt, and the United Arab Emirates. But experts say adding the terror designation could also harm relationships with countries the United States works with on counterterrorism and security, because the Muslim Brotherhood in some regions is not as radical and provides social services for residents.
Some of these countries, the Muslim Brotherhood is part of the state structure, and so designating it as a terrorist organization would harm the relationship between the U.S. and these countries.
Senator Cruz has been fighting for this terror organization for the Muslim Brotherhood for about a decade, and President Trump in the past has supported the idea, but similar legislation was crafted in 2019 and never even made it out of committee. Dee?
Do we know why, Christine? You mentioned several countries that already have this designation.
Look, this is complicated. In addition to it being inaccurate to sort of box the Muslim Brotherhood into a single entity, slapping a terror designation on a group also has rules. U.S. law suggests it should be based on the actions or violence that the group has committed and not on ideology or politics.
Live from Washington, D.C., Christine Frizzell, thank you. Federal Judge James Boasberg ordering the Trump administration to let migrants be sent to an El Salvador mega prison challenge their deportations. Today's rulings apply to the suspected gang members sent to the facility in March under an old wartime law. It's the latest development in a months-long legal battle. And the nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office says the one big, beautiful bill being debated in the Senate now would increase national deficits by $2.4 trillion over the next 10 years. Democrats and some Republicans are using this as a reason to kill the bill that passed the House just 2 weeks ago. But supporters of the bill say the CBO score doesn't tell the whole story.
Well, we are absolutely talking with our Republican colleagues because we want to really have them understand the damage this bill is going to do as written, and we're encouraging them to oppose it.
What I do know is if we don't pass this tax bill, we're going to have a $4 trillion increase in the economy and an economic slowdown, which will have its own costs.
And the legislative package includes tax cuts for businesses and individuals, as well as reduced spending on food assistance and Medicaid programs by cutting waste and fraud. The bill does increase funding for mass deportation. The president has encouraged senators to get the bill to his desk by the 4th of July. And while the Senate debates the fate of the budget, the acting administrator of the Federal Aviation Administration appeared before the House Appropriations Committee asking for an additional $97 million to support air traffic controllers amid its broader funding request.
We're looking for a real investment in this, and I believe it is a true investment in the U.S. and the future.
And the request for fiscal year 2026 would help train up to 2,500 new controllers. Shortages and overstressed workers are in the focus after several close calls at American airports compounded by antiquated equipment. In total, the FAA is requesting $22 billion for fiscal year 2026. Right now, authorities are searching for a Washington father whose 3 young daughters were found dead. Now, 32-year-old Travis Decker is wanted on 3 counts of murder and kidnapping. Last Friday, the girl's mother reported that Decker did not bring them home after a scheduled visit. Authorities found their bodies Monday at a campground near the father's unoccupied truck. The sheriff's office said they are working with multiple agencies to find him.
We are not done searching. As we speak, the marshal's office, the FBI, they're processing leads, they're conducting follow-up, and we will not rest until Travis is located.
The sheriff's office said Decker is a former Army soldier, and it is unclear if he is armed. 32-year-old Daniel Park was due in court today in Brooklyn, New York, before being extradited to California. He now faces charges related to last month's car bombing outside of a California fertility clinic. The primary suspect in the bombing, 25-year-old Guy Barkas, was found dead at the scene near the detonated vehicle that also injured 4 people. Authorities say Park provided 180 pounds of ammonium nitrate to make the explosives used in the attack. He was arrested last night at JFK Airport in New York. The Department of Justice is suing Texas over a state law that offers reduced in-state tuition for colleges to non-legal residents. Texas was the first state to adopt these programs for so-called dreamers back in 2001. 24 other states now have similar laws on the books. The DOJ says states can't offer benefits to illegal aliens that they do not also offer to American citizens. And a bill that can redefine how snacks are sold in Texas is on Governor Greg Abbott's desk. The Texas Senate bill would require food manufacturers to label products that contain certain ingredients like synthetic dyes and bleached flour as containing substances not recommended for human consumption based on the standards of other countries. Brands here like Doritos, M&Ms, and Mountain Dew, just to name a few, they would be impacted. The Consumer Brands Association opposes the bill, saying the labeling requirements go too far. Day 16 of Sean Diddy Combs' trial has concluded. Brianna Bangolan, a friend of Combs' former girlfriend, Cassie Ventura, said during a 2016 photo shoot, Combs told her, "I'm the devil and I could kill you." The defense argued Bangolan hadn't mentioned the death threat in her first meeting with prosecutors. Cross-examination of Bangolan will continue tomorrow. Combs has pleaded not guilty to racketeering, conspiracy, and sex trafficking charges. Coming up, severe storm threat. The states that could get hit with damaging winds, hail, and flooding tonight. Then, the toxic fungus a Chinese couple is accused of smuggling into the U.S. as a potential bioweapon. Then, new developments in the unsolved disappearance of a boy from Oregon 15 years ago. We'll be right back. Right now, we are keeping an eye on severe storms making their way over parts of Missouri and Illinois, moving northward here. Heavy thunderstorms are expected with the possibility of damaging winds as well as hail. Flood warnings, they are in effect until tomorrow for nearly 1 million people in Kansas and in Arkansas near the Mississippi River after the heavy rains last night and earlier today. At least one person died last night due to rising waters in Dallas, Texas. Now, off the coast of Florida, the National Weather Service has downgraded the first tropical disturbance of the year to a near 0% likelihood of developing into the first named storm of the year. But this system will certainly bring a lot of heavy rain and rough surf conditions along the coast over the next several days from Florida to North Carolina. You can see it hovering over South Carolina right now. Flash flooding remains a possibility through tomorrow night. Smoke from wildfires raging in Canada continues to drift across the United States, affecting air quality for much of the central and eastern U.S. Right now, parts of Wisconsin, Michigan, and Illinois have the worst, with air quality ranked unhealthy, as you can see by that red on your map. Vulnerable groups are advised to stay inside as much as possible. President Donald Trump posted on his Truth Social account today that he spoke with Russian President Vladimir Putin this afternoon. He says they spoke for about 15 minutes and held a good conversation about ending this war, but he says their talks won't immediately lead to peace. He also said Russia will respond to Ukraine's attacks on Russia airfields earlier this week. Trump said he also talked about Iran with Putin, who suggested he could help negotiate a new nuclear deal as talks aimed at curbing Iran's nuclear ambitions continue. Iran's supreme leader says the country will continue its uranium enrichment efforts despite U.S. disapproval. Trump says Iran must never have a nuclear weapon and says military action is on the table. Iran may be willing to make concessions to avoid crushing economic sanctions. A Chinese couple with ties to the CCP is facing federal charges right now after being accused of smuggling a potential agricultural terror weapon into the country. The National News Desk, Matt Galka, reports.
These pictures show what federal authorities say are a Chinese toxic fungus seized in Michigan last year. The FBI called it a potential agro-terrorism weapon, with Director Kash Patel saying in part, the Chinese Communist Party continues to deploy operatives and researchers to infiltrate our institutions and target our food supply.
This fungus, this pathogen, would directly affect and destroy our crops. And can you imagine the Chinese with some kind of a plot to undermine the United States by going after our food supply?
Two Chinese nationals, Yongqing Jian and her boyfriend, Zunyang Liu, were charged with multiple counts, including conspiracy to defraud the United States, smuggling, and making false statements. The complaint against them was unsealed Tuesday when Jian also appeared in court.
They're seeking your detention based on the fact that you present a serious risk of flight. Do you understand all that?
Yes, I do. According to the criminal complaint against the couple, authorities found the toxic fungus in Liu's backpack at the Detroit airport last summer. They say he lied about it at first, but then confessed he tried to hide it. Liu and Jian are both researchers that worked with the fungus, and Liu said he was taking it to the University of Michigan lab Jian worked at. The toxic fungus baggies were discovered tucked into a wad of tissues with a note written in Chinese and filter paper with a drawing. Officials said the fungus can impact crops including wheat, barley, maize, and rice. It can cause vomiting, liver damage, and reproductive problems in humans and livestock. The charges come as the State Department has vowed to aggressively revoke visas of Chinese students.
The full force of the law should come down on. We should prevent anyone associated with the CCP from being at any of our universities.
The complaint alleges the Chinese government has paid for some of Jian's research, and she has pledged loyalty to the Chinese Communist Party. Jian is in custody. Liu was not allowed into the country and remains at large. Reporting in Washington, I'm Matt Gelka for the National News Desk, America's News Now.
More than 20,000 people were evacuated out of the German city of Cologne as the city worked to defuse 3 unexploded bombs left over from World War II. German officials say 3 American ordnances, 2 20-ton weapons, and another that weighs 10 tons were found in a shipyard Monday. It's not uncommon to find old bombs left over, but this was the largest evacuation since the end of the war. A tomato recall in 3 states is now more serious. The Food and Drug Administration elevated its recall of Williams Farms repacked tomatoes to a Class 1 warning. The agency says the product could cause severe illness, even death. The tomatoes were recalled in May due to possible salmonella contamination. They were shipped to Georgia, North Carolina, and South Carolina in April. Reducing inflammation in the body can have drastic positive health improvements, including less overall pain, as well as a decrease in chronic disease. But as medical reporter Liz Bonas shares, the key to this fight could be in your diet and not in your medicine cabinet.
Hey there, everybody. Foods that fight inflammation tend to be less processed, more whole foods. And new research shows eating these foods can fight everything from chronic illness to chronic pain.
Are we ready to cook?
For Shauna Helton, who's been teaching her 3-year-old daughter Sophia how to cook,
I'm going to go ahead and put this fish down, right?
eating foods that fight inflammation has been life-changing. You see, Shauna lives with
joint pain, fatigue, severe fatigue.
Due to what's called Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, or EDS. It's a connective tissue disorder which impacts skin and bones. Part of her healing?
For me, it's clean eating food. It's basically minimally processed, gluten-free, dairy-free, no preservatives, no dyes, no additives.
And while that may sound labor-intensive, Shauna shares recipes like this one-pan salmon and roasted veggies on her Smarty Plants recipes site online.
This makes me happy, and sometimes you just need to find your passion.
That passion is powerful, however, for healing other conditions, too. This week, the American Society for Clinical Oncology found eating a diet with fewer inflammatory foods is linked to better cancer survival. And the team at Johns Hopkins links lower inflammation to reduce risk for complications from heart disease, diabetes, and Alzheimer's. Shauna says to incorporate this kind of diet into your life,
it really did start with making her healthy foods.
Start small. Fresh protein over processed meats, plenty of colorful vegetables throughout the day. Go for oils and fresh herbs over butters or sauces, fresh potatoes over fries, and baking instead of deep frying when items are ready to be cooked. Now, even if you can't do all this swapping at one time, just a few foods tends to lead to long-lasting results. With your health news, I'm Liz Bonus reporting.
Coming up, you gotta see this, the impressive electric bike stunts this 4-year-old in Massachusetts has mastered. We'll tell you his story right after this. We have reporters all across the country in your neighborhoods covering issues that matter to you. We are taking the pulse of America, and we start in Oregon with an update on a 15-year-old unsolved disappearance case.
It's a case that has gripped the state of Oregon. June 4th, 2010, the day 7-year-old Kyron Horman went missing from Skyline Elementary School. On Wednesday, it will be 15 years since he vanished. For the last 15 years, the Multnomah County Sheriff's Office says it's still an active investigation. But still, no arrests or even a person of interest has ever been named in the case.
We cannot let Kyron be forgotten.
The Multnomah County District Attorney, Nathan Basca, says he's taking a fresh look at the case, saying he might have an update this fall, giving people hope that this is the year there's some answers.
Palm Beach police arrested this man, Anthony Thomas Reyes, a 23-year-old from Texas, after they say he entered the president's Mar-a-Lago property without an invitation. It was a little after midnight when he was found by federal agents. During questioning, he told police he wanted to spread the gospel to POTUS and marry Kai. Kai Trump is the president's granddaughter who just turned 18.
It does not appear at this point that he was there to hurt anybody. Nevertheless, it's still a big problem for the Secret Service when anyone tries to gain unauthorized access into the Mar-a-Lago facility.
While many parents prep and practice with their children for hours for the day they start riding their bicycle.
Some kids don't pick it up as fast. Some kids want nothing to do with it.
Jordan Pacheco's son Jace is years ahead of them.
He's just always been drawn to it.
And when I say years, that's because this little daredevil is only 4 years old. And he's already a regular pro on his Harley electric bike.
Everyone has the same reaction.
They're so important.
Oh my God.
At first I was nervous, but once I seen him fall a couple times and just get right back on the bike, it got comfortable with it, and I have trust in him.
Look at that smile. He's like, I've been doing this for years. I know what I'm doing. Coming up, the American tennis star who just reached the French Open semifinals for the third time. We're back right after this. American tennis player Coco Gauff advancing to the French Open semifinals for the third time, defeating fellow American Madison Keys today. Tomorrow, she will play 22-year-old Lois Boisson of France, who has been on an extraordinary winning streak. Number 2 seeded Gauff won the 2023 U.S. Open at age 19. And that's going to do it for us for this edition of the National News Desk. I'm Dee Dee Gatton. Thanks for watching. See you at 10.